Let's get it. Mike Sempervive here with you for the next hour, talking professional wrestling and mixed martial arts, something we do every single day here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Tune in iHeart, American Forces Radio, over-the-air affiliates, sportsbyline.com, Sirius XM 156 podcast, or video streaming on Twitch or YouTube. However you're joining me today, I'd just like to say thank you. It is Good Friday. It's a great Friday. Why? Boss Man's not here. He's out spending time with his family, so I know it's a great day for him. Hopefully, wherever you are, you have the nice weather, and at the very least, you're just going to have a nice day. See, I'm in a good mood today. I already popped the Red Bull. I'm ready to go. And there's a lot to get into. There's a lot taking place both tonight and this weekend inside the Squared Circle. Tonight on TNT, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. If you are listening to this on the replay, it's too late. You're already missing it. But Rampage is taking place on TNT. The main event, AEW World Heavyweight Championship match between Hangman Adam Page and Adam Cole in a Texas death match. Tomorrow on TNT is going to be Battle of the Belts 2, headlined by Thunder Rosa and Nyla Rose. We're going to get into those lineups for those shows, as well as Saturday's New Japan Windy City Riot, which there is some speculation in some circles that the upcoming Tony Khan announcement may be a super show between AEW and New Japan, possibly in Chicago, possibly in June. We'll probably get into that. Speaking of Tony Khan, there's a lot of Tony Khan today as he made his appearance on Sirius XM's Busted Open Radio. There's going to be a whole lot of WWE news to get into as well, too, including tonight's SmackDown live on Fox. They've got 2 matches already announced for that. They've also announced some lineups taking place on the European tour, which will not feature Brock Lesnar, who will also not be at WrestleMania Backlash. We already knew that, but Dave Meltzer goes into it a little bit more in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, and we'll touch on that, as well as Toni Storm breaking her silence, Saturday night's New Japan pay-per-view from Fukuoka, Stardom, and much more. Maybe even your phone calls. We'll see. Wrestling Observer Live.
To-own Auto Arena. The first match on tonight's Portland wrestling card. Ladies' Choice versus beautiful Bryan Alvarez. This match is being brought to you in part by Cars to Go.
Fans action in the ring already here on Portland Wrestling. Ladies' Choice, Bryan Alvarez in the ring. Bryan Alvarez, of course, out with Miss Rento-Onato. Ladies' Choice coming over and making a proposition, I guess, to Miss Rento-Onato here on the corner.
I guess so, Frank. You know, this is Moondog Ed Moretti out here sitting with you, and I wanted to see this match because Ladies' Choice got a lot to prove, and Bryan Alvarez is a man on a mission.
Bryan Alvarez with a whipping it over. Big clothesline puts LC down. Another hard chop. Bryan Alvarez really taking control. There he goes for the pin. He wins 1, 2. 2.5, almost a 3 count. Third man in the ring, Mark Watson, a terrific referee. Bryan Alvarez with the whip. A big drop kick. That's that gymnastics background from Bryan Alvarez. Ed Moretti, great to have you out here on this, your final night of wrestling in professional wrestling.
This is it, Frank. This is my last night, and it's an honor to be here at Portland Wrestling, and I'm calling it quits after tonight.
Bryan Alvarez pounding away on Ladies' Choice. This is the first time we've got to see Ladies' Choice. He talks a lot. He has a lot of things he likes to say. There's a snap suplex by Bryan Alvarez. Takes LC right over, hooks, goes for the pin. There's 1, 2, almost a 3 count by Mark Watson again, but not quite. Bryan Alvarez, now he's looking over at his lady in the corner, says it's all over. Ladies' Choice, as I was saying, talks a lot. There you can see, I'm not sure that's professional wrestling action. We haven't seen much out of him yet. A low blow.
Well, it's a shortcut he took, and it worked to his advantage because Alvarez is laying on the mat, and here goes Ladies' Choice up the top here.
Ladies' Choice up top. A big splash. He hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. It's
there
all
it is,
over.
Frank.
Ladies' Choice, he calls that move the one-night stand, and I think that's all he's good for. But here on Portland Wrestling, Ladies' Choice wins his initial debut.
He's lived up to his reputation, Frank.
Ladies' Choice was able to back it up. Now he's coming. Now he's looking miswritten. Oh, none too happy with Bryan Alvarez losing once again. Looks like Ladies' Choice is coming over. He's saying, you need to come with me.
Uh-oh.
He's talking about how small Bryan Alvarez's hands are. I don't understand what. She's leaving with him. Bryan Alvarez cannot believe it.
Oh my
Bryan Alvarez,
goodness.
he's coming outside. He's got a steel chair.
Got a chair,
he's
Frank.
going after him. Bryan Alvarez throws the chair. Wrestlers out to hold Bryan Alvarez away. He wants a piece of Ladies' Choice. He's not done with it. He wants his woman back. $49.95 and a driver's license. You can be
Back to the show. Mike Sempervive here with your Wrestling Observer Live. You know, we do this show right here for an hour at a time, every single day. But if you want us 24/7, or at least the chance to get us 24/7, Twitter is your best place to go. You can follow me at Sempervive. The timeline for this show is at WONF4W. The broadcaster is at Sports Byline USA. And if you love pro wrestling, at Mid-Atlantic Pod. Bryan Alvarez's Twitter is at Bryan Alvarez. He probably will just be tweeting out cute pictures of his kids for the next couple of days, which is fine with me. and probably fine with him, too, as he is still suffering the effects of questioning whether or not Danhausen needs more explanation on AEW programming. So maybe Danhausen can show up on Busted Open, because that seems to be where all the news is coming from today, at least when it comes to AEW. Tony Khan doing some guerrilla promotion, I guess, but we'll get to him in a minute. Toni Storm has opened up about her decision to leave WWE, and you can read some of this up on the WrestlingObserver.com website. During an appearance on SiriusXM's Busted Open Radio, Storm said it had been her childhood dream to perform for WWE. However, she eventually realized working for the company was not for her. She says, when I left WWE, I wasn't banking on going anywhere else. I kind of left suddenly and wasn't prepared for life outside of all of that. So I'm just so thankful that Tony Khan reached out and has given me a job, a second chance, an opportunity to do what I love, which is pro wrestling. I'm excited. Storm went on to say that not being able to travel home in the WWE road schedule factored into her unhappiness at the time. She said, I'm not saying that I have a problem with WWE at all. I'm actually really grateful for the time I got to have there. I learned so much, and you know what? It was so cool. It was real, and it was cool, but in the end, it wasn't real cool. So something happened, and she doesn't go into this, but something happened, and I left. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience, to be honest. Have you ever just lost your mind? That's kind of what happened. The stress of not seeing family in years, and then just so many overwhelming things all at once. I've been happier ever since. I guess I just freaked out and went home, she continued. This had taken place between Baltimore and Washington. She was in Washington, D.C. For a house show on December 28th, was going to travel to Baltimore, 40 minutes up the road, and instead jumped on a plane and was gone. And that was the last time she was seen in WWE. At the time she had left, she was involved in a storyline with Charlotte Flair on SmackDown. Storm goes on to talk about a lot of different things, including having a realization that she just no longer wanted to work there, just realized that it was not for her, and what was going on just really wasn't for her. And that's an understandable thing, considering the cake in the face that she had with Charlotte Flair, kind of how they presented her. They had brought her up to the main roster, and then she disappeared for a while. They re-debut her, and you know, the deal with Charlotte wasn't exactly the best. Did it necessarily play to Toni Storm's strengths? Well, if you're a wrestling fan, if you only knew her from WWE, maybe, you know, you don't know. If you saw her in NXT, and even more so if you saw her in Stardom and on the independent scene, you'd know that the match she's got coming up with Jamie Hayter, that is looking to be a real banger and looking to be, you know, real physical wrestling match. At least that's how it seems to be, you know, presented and touted, the way Tony Khan and everybody else seems to be talking about it. You know, that's the way that most people, I think, want to see Toni Storm. So she's getting her chance to do that. As she mentioned, her Tony Khan had reached out to her. We just heard from her fiance, her beau, Juice Robinson on this show, who apparently didn't make New Japan very happy by announcing on this show he would not be going back and that he'd be taking some time off. So I don't know. You know, a lot of people after the interview with Juice, they heard it and they were like, man, bro sounds tired. I hope he's okay. He sounds really depressed. That sort of thing. And, I didn't take it that way. We obviously had a chance to also interact with him during the break, and I never got that impression. Did he just wake up? Possibly. Was he in a relaxed state of mind, say? Surely, possibly. But I never really took it as him being depressed at all, especially because I don't know. Obviously, he doesn't know what his future is going to bring, and he's going to take it day by day. But, Tony Storm getting reached out to by Tony Khan, I mean, I'm sure Tony Khan knows who Juice Robinson is, and they have a lot of names on their roster. That is for sure. And I'm not saying that he's jumping in right now would be the best thing for Juice Robinson to do or for Tony Khan to reach out to him, but it is impossible for me to believe that a guy who was able to go bet on himself, reinvent himself, start off from the very bottom, work his way, I'd say, to the top of New Japan. I mean, as far as a foreigner in New Japan can make it when you have that level of talent, both native and otherwise, up top. I mean, damn. I mean, Juice had a hell of a run getting up to the U.S. title, and I think he would be a great benefit for AEW if and when that happens, and it is impossible. Look, it's not impossible for me to believe. A lot of people walk away from a lot of things when they're burned out and they lose interest or they just want to recharge their batteries, but Juice is a pretty young guy, and I don't know. I think he and AEW would be a nice fit. Again, there's a lot of names there. There's a lot of bodies there. There's a lot of people, but I think when you have a guy, to me, and maybe I'm just too big of a fan here, when I look at him and what he's been able to do throughout his career, boy, I'd like to see him at least get a shot in AEW, and I think, he would be able to do well there as well, too. David Finlay, it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. There's a lot of other names, that people would love to see in AEW right now. And getting into what's actually taking place on your television sets with AEW, Saturday night on TNT, it's Battle of the Belts 2 from Garland, Texas, 8 p.m. The show is actually being taped tonight after the live Rampage, which is going to be taking place. AEW Women's World Championship match, Thunder Rosa against Nyla Rose. AEW TNT Championship match, Scorpio Sky against Sammy Guevara. And the ROH World Championship, Jonathan Gresham against Dalton Castle, taking place on Saturday. As I mentioned, that is being taped. So for all of you who thought that was going to be live or maybe just didn't think about it, be wary of spoilers that'll be coming out of tonight's show. Rampage on TNT tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern time. That has been talked about a lot. It is not ideal. AEW World Championship, Texas Death Match, Hangman Adam Page against Adam Cole. It's going to be Page's sixth defense of the title, and it's a rematch from the Revolution show in March against Adam Cole. It's also going to be Page's second Texas Death Match World Championship as he defends, as he had one against Lance Archer in February as well. If he's successful, he ties Kenny Omega for the second most title defenses made behind Jon Moxley's 9. Also on the show tonight, a Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament Qualifier match, Ruby Soho against Robin Renegade. According to Tony Khan today on Busted Open, it would look like AQA was going to get that spot, but it didn't end up happening. A lot of people took what I said about Ruby Soho yesterday with Bryan, joking about the fact that, they are not using her well and she's being buried and all that. That was tongue-in-cheek. If it wasn't blatantly obvious from my voice and the look on my face, I was kidding. The sky is not falling for Ruby Soho, for heaven's sakes. And people, well, she's not on TV. She's made 3 appearances on TV this year. You know how many Britt Baker has made on Rampage and Dynamite? 5. You know, you can talk about the women's division and all that sorts of stuff. You can talk about how maybe they're not using your favorites on TV enough. They don't use the women's division enough, whatever. But Ruby Soho is much better off now than she was in WWE, and I think she's going to be okay. The biggest thing on this show for some is the fact that the Blackpool Combat Club is all getting together, Moxley, Danielson, and Wheeler Yuta, and they're going to face off against the Gun Club, who are undefeated in trios matches, believe it or not, 24-0 in the entirety of AEW. I have a feeling they're going to get a one hung on them tonight. Going to be getting into a little bit more about what's taking place this weekend when we come back on Wrestling Observer Live.
By Chico, excuse me, the twins. Yeah.
Coming up Saturday night, undefeated IBF and WBC welterweight world champion Errol Spence Jr. taking on Yordenis Ugas, who's coming off his victory over Manny Pacquiao, which took the place of Spence on 11 days' notice after Spence injured his eye during training. That fight, unified welterweight championship, with the exception of Terrence Crawford, is, I believe, the only other person out there. But the show takes place Jerry World AT&T Stadium in Dallas, 9 p.m. on Saturday. Why am I mentioning this? Because during the show, There's going to be a live chat taking place, payperview.com, ppv.com, hosted by Boxing Scene's Corey Erdman and featuring some special guests dropping by, including me. So if you plan on ordering the fight, you want to take a little break from watching New Japan, check out what's happening on the fights, watch it, pay-per-view, ppv.com. I got to stop doing that. I see the PPV, I immediately spell out pay-per-view, but ppv.com. Everyone who orders the Spence Ugas fight will automatically be entered into a drawing to win 2 tickets, plus hotel and airfare to an upcoming ppv.com event. A couple other fights on that card as well, too, but Errol Spence is always fun to watch, so there you go. And I'll take it back to the wrestling now, including tonight, 7 p.m. Once again, that's when Rampage is going to be on. An hour show that leads into Con Air. Con Air is beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's your 2-hour lead-in to the New Orleans Pelicans LA Clippers game coming up at 10 p.m. on TNT. It's a play-in game to decide who's going to be the 8th seed in the NBA playoffs. Rampage is going to be up against the other play-in game, which is Atlanta and Cleveland, which begins at 7:30 on ESPN. Con Air is 25 years old, and I know they love to air movies. In fact, I believe there's a whole Twitter account, the movie right before Rampage or Dynamite comes on. Why the movie couldn't begin at 7 p.m. and go till 9 with Rampage following, I don't know. You know, maybe if I had to, I guess if I'm theorizing something, maybe it's a gentleman's agreement from Turner Sports to not broadcast any live sports entertainment programming against another broadcast partner's NBA game. I have no idea, because it certainly wouldn't work in the other direction with ESPN. So I don't know exactly what the reasoning is, but obviously Con Air, and maybe Tony Khan, somebody insists that 7 p.m. would be better than 8, but I don't know about that. Dynamite on Wednesday, speaking of that, under 1 million viewers, averaged 977,000, which was down 1.2% from the previous week. Lowest audience for the show since March 9th. Dynamite drew a .37 rating in the 18 to 49 demo, down 2.6% from last week. The 18 to 49 rating is Dynamite's lowest number in the category since March 2nd. The TBS show finished third on the cable charts, trailing 2 NBA playoff games play-in games on ESPN. The play-in games averaged 2.44 and 2.11 million viewers, respectively, and also did quite well, basically tripling Dynamite in the 18 to 49 demo. No surprise there. The high points of the show were CM Punk against Penta, which did 1.131 million viewers and averaged 530,000 between the ages of 18 to 49. While the last 4 minutes of Punk and Penta, the Chris Jericho Airport angle, and the first half of Jurassic Express against Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly for the tag team titles did 1.044 million viewers and 532,000 18 to 49s, which ended up being that demo's high point. So there you go. The week's episode. This week is 1.1% down in viewers as compared to the average about the last 10 or 11 weeks. As you can see, if you go up to the WrestlingObserver.com main page of the site, there's a write up there about it. So I'm sure somebody is out there planting their flag over AEW dying that it didn't do 1 million viewers, but the NBA is going to win. The NFL is going to win. The NBA is going to win. And that's just how it goes. The NHL won't win. But, unfortunately for wrestling fans, it is a prestige sport with higher prestige viewership and higher prestige sponsors associated with it. So I know that's something that, at least on our board and in some circles, because there are, especially in the States, especially the further south you go, where there are less and less hockey fans, and they are just mystified by the fact that wrestling has got to take a backseat, and AEW has to take a backseat to hockey, but that's just the way it goes. For those of you who lived through the the dog show. What is it? The Kennel Club of whatever the hell it is, but the dog show on USA every single year. That would US Open tennis was another one that would also push Raw out of the way, but it was always that Westminster Kennel Club show that would really drive people nuts. But that's how it works when it comes to that sort of thing. Tony Khan has been everywhere today just by making one appearance on Busted Open. And the biggest thing, Santam Singh's debut on Wednesday, he believes they could have handled it differently. Speaking on Busted Open Radio today, Khan says, and this write-up is up at WrestlingObserver.com as well, too, I could have done it better. It's one of those things. I wish I had done it a little bit differently. There were things about it I probably shouldn't have. Pardon me. There are things about it I probably shouldn't have done differently. Now I see in hindsight, to be honest, it wasn't my idea to turn the lights out. And really, that's the bottom line of all this when it comes right down to it. He says it early in the interview because I had a chance to hear it, that it was somebody with 30 years experience that said it and suggested it. And he says right after that, but the bottom line is it's me, and I'm the filter, and I'm the one responsible. And then later on, he goes and actually reiterates that point that somebody with 30 years of experience in pro wrestling brought this up, and everybody was sitting around with it, and nobody said anything. And after the fact, they all went, maybe we shouldn't have did that. A lot of talk over this whole thing, and I know if Tony, if you don't like Tony Khan, I'm sure you're piling on that he's throwing somebody under the bus. I have no animus towards Tony Khan. I will say this, honestly, listening to it, you could easily take it that way, and you could take it that way the same way that, like, anybody who said that, man, I don't want to make any excuses, but I pulled my hamstring and I couldn't spar and I couldn't train and this happened, that happened. But you know what? Bottom line is he beat me. So, well, you already laid out the excuses there and kind of distanced yourself from it. And I think I know what honestly, I don't believe that he did that with any malice. People are pointing back to like the pyro going off and him saying him throwing somebody under the bus for that and all that. Look, I just think he maybe misspoke. And he puts himself out there, and he does it a lot. And he seems to be on Twitter right now, still talking about this with people. So, which, by the way, is serving also as promotion for tonight and keeping, things. And I know some people don't, will look at that as a big negative, but I don't think in this case it necessarily is to get people amped up and talking about Santam Singh and keeping Dynamite and Rampage at a weird time tonight in everybody's minds. I think, there's an ulterior motive to him doing all this stuff, which is the promotion part of it. But all he really had to say was, you know what? We were sitting around, and it wasn't just me. Well, he didn't even say that. It was me. It was my crew. And somebody had brought it up. And I said, yeah, let's go. And after the fact, we all said, no, that wasn't the way to go. That probably would have been the way to do it, to save himself some of this backlash that he's getting over people, saying he's throwing people under buses and all that sort of stuff. Once again, though, he also, mentions the fans and mentions how smart they were as all these people are coming up with ideas of what they would have done with hindsight being 2020. He's actually on Twitter right now kind of playing into some of those things, too. Yeah, I wish we would have did that, too. So, again, playing both sides of the coin here. He's a promoter. He explained it. It's not going to be enough for some people. It's going to be too much for other people, but that's how it goes when it comes to Tony Khan and his appearance on Busted Open Radio. And again, got everybody talking today about this deal. In fact, he mentioned that Santam Singh deal is the number one thing that was rewatched from that show. Again, where those numbers come from, I don't know. Could they possibly have been bots? Maybe, I don't know. But that's what he said. So, keeping everything in the mix there, and that's enough of Tony for right now. SmackDown tonight, DCU Center in Worcester, Massachusetts. Show's almost sold out. It wasn't scaled for a whole lot, but the show's almost sold out. And coming up on it, WWE has made some announcements of what's going to be taking place on the show right before it came on the air. It was announced that Ricochet will be defending the United States Championship against Jinder Mahal. As I pull that up from WWE.com here. See, I thought I actually had it saved. Oh, wait, there it is, as I have a Bryan moment of searching the internet here on the show. But, yeah, sorry, the Intercontinental Champion. Finn Balor's the U.S. Champion. How dare I forget about that, since neither one of those men had a path to WrestleMania this year. But Jinder Mahal is going to challenge Ricochet for the Intercontinental title. Could we see a title change? Possibly. Possibly we could. Just because, why not? You know, either that or I could see this ending in some sort of non-finish where, you know, somebody gets involved, whether it be Shanky or something like that, which leads to a match at Backlash. Also coming up on the show tonight, Drew McIntyre against Sami Zayn. Going to open up the phone lines, 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. Give me a call. Wrestling Observer Live. Sempervive, Wrestling Observer Live. R.A. the Rugged Man, old white guy like me, also likes boxing. I think that's all that's left for people that like boxing, just old guys. I'd like to say that's not the case. Oh, by the way, Gervonta Davis, who's got a fight coming up at the end of May, got Booker T trending today on Twitter. I'll have you. You'll have to go listen to the clip for yourself, since none of what was played could be actually aired on the radio without picking up massive FCC fines and multiple back-to-back suspensions that I would stack up. So I won't play that, but you can find that, and that's the reason the Booker T was trending. An unfortunate shadow to bring up, but it seems like everybody is bringing this up. The specter of WWE releases. Did I use the term specter correctly? I believe I did. There is still a ghost over from last year at around this time where there was a huge bloodletting of talent. The Iconics, Samoa Joe, Kalisto, Mickey James, Mojo Rawley, Bo Dallas, Tucker, Chelsea Green, one after Buddy Murphy. Just one person after another ended up getting released. There are people believing that, well, we've gone through 90 days, of the first quarter of the year here. We may be seeing some more. So hopefully that is not the case for anybody. I don't want to see anybody lose their job unless it's Mustafa Ali, who absolutely would like to lose his current job and go somewhere else. So if there are going to be releases, and Mustafa Ali is not one of them, boy, that will make for some noisy banter on Twitter. There's going to be I got a bunch of other WWE stuff to get into, but before we do that, we will go to our friend from the Twitch chat, Dagan, on the line right now. Dagan, what's going on this Friday?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? Good talking to you. What's up, Twitch homies? So, listen, I just wanted to quickly get my thoughts out about this ending that we got the other night on Dynamite. And I was not a fan of it. I know a lot of people said it was bad. But it seems like we go through this pattern every time that something like this happens, whether it be Chris Jericho falling on boxes or a bomb not going off, where it's just like everybody takes that one moment and they hyper-focus on it, and it's like, now AEW's dead, doom and gloom, all this stuff. And look, I get that it could have been done a little bit differently, but I think personally that was by far not the worst ending or angle that we've ever had on AEW. So I think that people should maybe focus on how great the wrestling was that we got on that show. That Minoru Suzuki, Samoa Joe match, just awesome. The tag title match with Red Dragon and Jurassic Express. So I think there's a lot of really great stuff on that show. And I think people are really hyper-focusing on the negatives, and that's just my opinion on it, but I get, other people's opinions as well. So just wanted to say that. And thanks for taking my call, Mike. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Dagan. Appreciate that, man. I think it's just, it's a matter of just, some people are just trolling. And look, some people are just actually just joking around, taking the piss out of things and having fun with the fact that it was such a flat thing. And you might see them on social media, and it looks like they're piling on when really they're just cracking jokes. But if some people see that and they have their flag planted, and they may get really, really upset. And there are people that maybe they believe that all these things are the death knell for AEW or something like that. But I think it's just trolling, and I think it's just people who have planted their flag. And we see this on both sides of the ledger too. The WWE ones, the stand up for WWE ones, they tend to be worse. But we do actually see this on both sides of the coin. Bottom line though is it's not the end of the world. And that debut the whole thing, like, it turned the lights out. That's the reason that it was disappointing, because the lights were out and people they thought the lights were going to come back on and like Cesaro would be there. It's like, if he had lumbered down and walked down the aisle, would that have made it any better? If he had like rose up from the Phoenix in the crowd or something like that and like charged the ring. Actually, that one maybe, if he'd have charged the ring out of the crowd like a maniac, that probably would have been the way to do it. But then it really, I don't know how that would have played into to Jay Lethal being there and all that. I don't know. But Sanjay Dutt is very good. Jay Lethal is obviously very good. We'll have to see how they decide to use this guy. I don't know. He's been training, but how much training has he done? He did not impress me or like really shock me with his mobility or anything like that. who knows? Yeah, who knows? But it's being done for a reason, which obviously is appealing to the Indian market, which, again, much like the Great Khali and other people they've tried, like Veer right now, hopefully, Veer can be that guy. I don't think they've got him off on the best foot with the character that he is, but we'll see how that all goes down. It's not the end of the world. And maybe the fact that people are still talking about it now is may actually be a good thing, instead of just forgetting about it altogether and just wanting to wipe your feet on it and then getting the groan when you come back next time around. At least this way, again, I don't know what AEW can possibly do and what their plans are going to be for him, but obviously he's very important to them. I missed who was on the line. I know they're in California right now, but take it back to the phones. Caller in California, are you there? And apparently he's not.
Just want to say first time, long time. Oh, hi. Marcus from Tustin here. Just wanted to say first time, long time. Happy to be here with on a mic day, right? Got that blue Red Bull here in solidarity with you. I just wanted to bring up a point I feel like probably doesn't get thought about that much with the entrance music in WWE. I feel like a lot of people feel like it's very subpar right now. And I feel like it might just be a product of like the same thing we see with the matches we don't like, the finishes we don't like, the production that we don't like. I mean, everybody's performing for an audience of one there. Everybody that's on staff there is making things for one guy. So I don't necessarily think that the people making the music are the worst at what they're doing, but maybe, the person that they're giving the work to is requiring, the bare minimum. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me throw this by you, though. Let me throw this by you, because Jim Johnson was making, music for one guy. CFO was making music, for one guy, and those particular, units have now, obviously, they're gone from there, and they have new people doing music. They were doing the same thing, but the music seemed to get over better, and people seem to react to some of that music better. Do you think it's just a matter of people just have not liked some of these? They don't look at them as theme bangers, so far? You think it's just a matter of it comes down to the music?
I think it's partially that, but they're also, very much playing into the style of what is popular at the moment. A lot of these themes are filled with these 808 kicks and a lot of, hip-hop, trap inspired like drums and stuff. It seems like they're trying to like think in the direction that they want to. But I mean, in the same position, Jim Johnson was making music for a Vince McMahon that was 20 years younger, 30 years younger. You know what I mean? And there was a lot, I feel like, you can go back and watch interviews with people, and I feel like they have a lot more involvement with what they were able to put into their music. They were a lot more closely involved with the process of making the music in WWE, which is, something we see a lot more of today in AEW, where everybody's loving what Mikey Ruckus is doing. I mean, the man, doing incredible things, and mainly it's because he's, able to do what he's able to do. I feel like, as much as that is a very valid point, like, you got to remember that the dude is older, and he's probably just going to play to what is he's being told and fed to is what is popular. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, Marcus. I thank you very much for the call. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting. That is really interesting, to think about. AEW, again, they have guys have a lot more freedom. We've heard about them, giving ideas and all that sort of stuff. And it just, I don't know. I think some of the music has gotten a bad rap too in WWE. I think some of it has. And again, I know it's people have their personal favorites and they have styles and things like that they like. But I think that's when it comes to NXT, that is low on the priority list right now. Because for an example, Roman Reigns, the theme that he has is perfect. And I know like some of it comes from like the gold dust thing or the chime in the background and all, but it's a badass larger than life theme for a larger than life guy. And I think it's been a very good one. I think they've had some other good ones as well too. I haven't been bullish on a lot of the NXT themes, even going back. I think a lot of them, some have been better than others, but again, my old ass, that won't even worry about that. Let me just throw this out there. WWE has announced 3 matches for upcoming events in London and Paris, which are part of the company's next European house show tour. The London house show is being held at the O2 Arena on Friday, April 29th, while the Paris show is scheduled for Accor Arena. Accor? ACOR? ACCOR. Acor. I don't know. I'm an American. Saturday, April 30th, filing matches have been announced for both events. Roman Reigns defends the WWE Universal Championship against Drew McIntyre, while SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair defends against Ronda Rousey. And Raw champions RK Bro defend against SmackDown champions, the Usos. The tour also is going to have stops in Newcastle and in Leipzig, Germany. Reigns and Rousey have only been announced for the London and Paris shows. Somebody who is not going to be on that show is Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar was never scheduled to be at WrestleMania Backlash either, as Dave Meltzer reports this week in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which just went up for subscribers this morning. He reports that there was never a plan to have him at the pay-per-view. He was recently pulled from the advertising after initially appearing on the promotional material for the show. Earlier this month, Lesnar lost the title unification match to Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania 38 Night 2. Reigns became the undisputed WWE Universal Champion by winning that match. Lesnar has not appeared on WWE TV since WrestleMania. He's advertised for Money in the Bank at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on Saturday, July 2nd. SummerSlam at Nissan Stadium in Nashville on Saturday, July 30th. So there is that. Backlash is going to be taking place at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, Rhode Island on Sunday, May 8th. Going to take it back to the phones now. Orange County, what's your name and what's going on?
Yeah, this is Don in Orange County, Mike. I wanted to talk about GCW.
Surely. That's a little bit of topic of conversation today for what's been in the Observer.
So I'm calling because it's been 2 weeks since the Collective, and no one on the show has mentioned the debut of early morning Guy Steele.
I heard early morning Guy Steele. Yes, apparently he's got a brand new Twitter account out there following his success at the Joey Janela Spring Break cluster battle royal that took place. Are you impressed by early morning Guy Steele?
He was the most exciting thing to me. I was there at the Collective. I went to all the shows of the Collective, and a lot of stuff got talked about, but it was the most interesting thing to me of the weekend.
For those
I don't know what this guy is, but I'll be following him.
Well, who do you think it is?
I think it's Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes. Yeah, I don't know if it's Cody Rhodes, but Don, I want to thank you very much for the phone call. Yes, get into that a little bit more after the break here, as well as mentioning what is going to be taking place. New Japan, Chicago tomorrow, sold out show, big show, going to be leading into Fukuoka on May 1st. Kazuchika Okada and Naito, and then of course Team Filthy. That's going to be the most important thing. USJ Open Challenge, Filthy Tom Lawler against Nagata. Will be back. Here rambling, so much stuff to get into today. I didn't even mention that Windy City Riot was going to be taking place. I wanted to get into that a little bit more, considering that the Super J cast, even by their own accord, wildly speculating that it's possible that AEW and New Japan working a super show, possibly in Chicago, could be what Tony Khan's big announcement is. We'll have to see about that, but it is going to be a big show, sold out in Chicago tomorrow night. US of J Open Challenge, Jay White against a mystery opponent, Minoru Suzuki against Tomohiro Ishii, Jon Moxley against Will Ospreay is going to be the main event of that match, but the main event for everybody here on this site and me, Filthy Tom Lawler against Yuji Nagata. Yuji Nagata, one of my all-time favorite professional wrestlers. You have no idea how upset I was way back when they decided to put him in a fight with Mirko Cro Cop. It actually had reignited that particular event was one of the big things that reignited my interest in Japanese wrestling that I always had a minor knowledge and appreciation of, watching videotapes, playing the WCW versus the World and all those sorts of games. I liked New Japan. I got heavy into it at that time because of that fight and what had happened with Yuji Nagata. But facing Tom Lawler, and you know what happened with Cro Cop, what happened with Fedor, it could very well happen again with Filthy Tom Lawler. That's how much faith I have in my New Japan Strong Openweight champion. I get to see all those guys coming up in D.C. May 14th it is, so I don't expect to see Juice Robinson there. But, hey, everybody, I hope you have a great weekend. As far as I know, Jim Valley is going to be on Saturday. Andrew Zarian and those guys are going to be on Sunday. For Bryan Alvarez, my name is Mike Sempervive. Have a safe and happy Passover, Easter, or whatever the hell it is you celebrate. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Wrestling Observer Live.